On this week's episode, I'm joined by Lara Martins, actress, award-winning opera singer, and the longest-running Carlotta in Phantom of the Opera on London's West End. We discuss, amongst other things, what it originally meant to be a diva, what she misses and what makes her proud of Portugal, and what parts of her Portugueseness stayed with her for all of these years while living in London. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life, and I'm delighted to be joined here by Lara Martins. Or in the UK, you would say Lara Martins.
Yeah.
In Portugal, it's Lara Martins. Lara, thank you for joining us. How are you?
A pleasure. I'm very well, thank you. Here in London, it's a little bit cold today, but, yes, we're good.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll talk about some of the things you may be missing about Portugal. I'm sure weather is one of them.
For sure.
So, Lara, maybe you can just start off by telling us a little bit about you.
So, my name is Lara Martins. The English Anglophone people like to anglicize my name, so they call me Lara Martins. I'm a singer, I'm a Portuguese singer, but I've been living in London for many years now. So I go to Portugal very often for work, but my home is in London. Okay.
Where are you originally from in Portugal? Tell us a bit about your hometown.
So I'm from a city called Coimbra, which is a beautiful city in the center of Portugal, so between Lisbon and Porto. And it's very well known for having a very old university. So it's a city a little bit like Oxford and Cambridge, so full of students, old university, beautiful buildings, very, very charming. I would definitely advise you to visit the city. Yeah.
It's got a nice river.
Yes, it's a city in the banks of Mondego River. It's really, really a very nice and vibrant city because it has a lot of young people because of the university, and has also a lot of traditions, old traditions. So it's very, very nice. And it's not very big, but it's not very small as well. So it's one of those in the middle, which is quite nice.
It's a great city. I've visited often. Is there something about Coimbra that you want to share with us that maybe people don't know? Because, it is very well known for the university side of things. Yeah. It's got a specific type of fado as well, the music.
Yes, so the Coimbra fado is very different from the Lisbon fado. So first of all, it's sung by men. Women don't really sing, fado. In the fado of Coimbra, they don't really sing it. So it's usually...
Why not?
Men. Well, the tradition is that it was really the students that sang Fado de Coimbra. And when it appeared, I suppose that's why. Mainly the students were male, so there were not many women studying at the university. So it just became this kind of tradition that the Coimbra Fado is sung usually with a male voice. I mean, obviously now people sing it, but in the big tradition, we have a party in Coimbra, a big celebration. I mean, I would say it was more like a festival called Queima das Fitas, which is a celebration of the students in university. It goes on and on for a week. There's concerts, there's loads of things going on. And one of the things is so the whole thing opens with this big concert of Coimbra, Fado de Coimbra, and it's beautiful and it's sung by the students. So usually sung by male. It's a little bit different from the Fado from Lisbon. What else? It's very particular about this city.
Hold on, how is it different? I've heard that it's happier. Well, from what I can hear, it's a bit more happier. It's got a little bit more upbeat compared to some of the Lisbon Fado. Would that be a good way to describe it?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's maybe there's because it's the student kind of vibe, let's say. Maybe it's a little bit cheekier, chirpier, maybe. But there's quite sad elements to it as well. It's usually, we associate it with a very tenory voice, But yeah, I mean, I'm not a specialist in fado also, so probably I'm not giving a very good explanation of it. But yeah,
Okay.
well, there's places in Coimbra you can go just to listen to this specific type of fado. So if you're interested, you can listen to it in Coimbra.
Exactly. Go to Coimbra. Go to Coimbra.
Yeah.
You heard it from Laura Martins. What else about Coimbra is special?
Oh, what else? So, as you said, there's this beautiful river, Mondego. The Coimbra sits on the banks of this beautiful river. So there's a lot of things you can do, water sports like paddleboard and yeah, so that's really nice. What else? I mean, also, I must say, there's a lot of little villages around Coimbra that are really interesting. So not only the city per se, but, for instance, I'm thinking about Condeixa, which is a city very near Coimbra, which has a magnificent Roman ruins. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, this is definitely a place to go. It's an amazing Roman city with amazing ruins there. There's Lausanne, for instance, with a beautiful nature and a big serra, nice food as well. Yeah, Coimbra has a really
Leitão.
nice Leitão. There's Mialhada with Leitão, the little piglet. There's also good wine around that region, Mialhada region. So lots to do in that region, a lot to do. Yeah.
I love this so much. It's come up so many times on the podcast when people talk about their region or their hometown. Everybody says you eat really well there. You eat really well there. You eat. We just eat well in Portugal. It's just a common theme.
Yeah, it's a common theme. I mean, Portugal and Portuguese people. I mean, if you listen to this podcast by now, you probably have figured that out, that we love food and wine and all good things in life, I would say.
yeah, exactly. Did you grow up in Coimbra? Is that where you grew up?
Yes, I did grow up in Coimbra, yeah. And then I spent my whole life there before I came to England, yeah. So I came to England quite young, but yeah, I was there all until I came to England, yeah.
I mean, tell us a little bit about your career, Laura. You've got a huge body of work, lots of awards, performed in lots of concerts and shows. You've got an album. Just tell us a little bit about your musical career.
Yeah, so I trained as a classical singer, so that's why I came to London to do. So I trained as an opera singer, classical singer, and for 10 years, that's what I did. I had a career in opera, and then I ended up going to do a role in a musical theatre show, a very famous one, the Phantom of the Opera, here in London in the West End. So then I discovered musical theatre and I stayed there for quite a few years in this show, which was amazing. And then I did that kind of wakened my spirits for other types of music. So I then decided to just do all sorts of things. So, and today I am a singer with a classical background, but I do so many different styles. So jazz, world music, musical theatre, opera as well. So yeah, so that's a little bit of what I do. And last year I have recorded an album which was released during the pandemic about Portuguese music and Latin American music. There's also a bit of Brazilian. There's Argentinian music with Piazzolla. So it's a little bit of the common theme is how, traditional music can be elevated with a collaboration between poets and traditional musicians. And this is what happened a little bit with fado and the Argentinian tango and the Brazilian music. So that was the little theme of the album. So I did a lot of so what I did is I did some songs from Piazzolla. I took some very known fado songs and gave them a little twist with a bit of a jazzy feeling to it. Yeah, it was an amazing experience. So I'm really actually quite proud of that little album. So yeah, and the album is called Canção, which is the word song for Portuguese.
Exactly. You're also the longest running Carlotta.
Yeah, so that's the role I played in Phantom.
Now she's evil, a little bit evil. she's a little bit.
I wouldn't say she's evil, but
no, maybe
she's
not
like,
evil.
She has a personality. She has an attitude, let's say.
Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, an attitude. Yeah. She's difficult. She's difficult.
She's she's the stereotype of the opera diva, the old opera divas, right? So, everything is for her and everything must work for her. And she's the center of the world and the universe. So this is, it was her. So then, she gets a little bit upset because the other character of the show, Christine, she comes in, kind of takes a role.
Steals her thunder.
Steals a role. And so she's not very happy about that. So, but she's a funny character, there's a lot of comedy elements to it, which I really enjoyed playing. And also it's a challenging role vocally, which is really nice for me as well. Yeah.
I must say, to give you a bit of background. So, I used to listen to the whole Phantom of the Opera cassette in the car with my parents growing up. So I love the musical. The movie that came out, maybe it's about 10 years ago. It was okay. I was a bit disappointed. I was like, I didn't feel like it did the musical justice.
No,
and I've never seen it on Broadway or on West End. So that's something that's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you got the role of Carlotta. That's a very good Portuguese name. And,
I know.
And a Portuguese lady got the role of Carlotta.
Yeah, I think it's like Italian kind, Portuguese kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, my son Benjamin, he's 3, and his crush is a little girl called Carlotta. And then he also, when we had in New Year's, we had a New Year's party, and there was another Carlotta that was running around hugging him the whole night. And
you see, he has a crush with Carlotta. So maybe he likes the name, he has a thing with the name.
Could be the name.
But, funnily enough, my great-grandmother was called Carlotta. Yeah. Isn't that funny?
So there you go.
Interesting.
Interesting. How did you tap into, you're such a nice person, how did you tap into that diva kind of mentality and role for this?
Because I'm an actress. No, yeah. I mean, that was very funny because coming from an opera background, I think I have encountered 1 or 2 of those in my career.
Only a few.
So, it was interesting doing that role because I also had the experience of actually working in a real opera house. I mean, probably not at the extent of the divas of the 19th century, obviously, because, at the time we have to think that these women, they were the opera stars of the moment, like we have now Beyonce or Lady Gaga, whatever. At that time, these people were the opera stars, they were the rock stars, they were like, people would travel just to hear them, and they were really famous. So, no wonder they were such divas, So I think working in the opera world and bringing that baggage to the show was interesting for this particular character. I think, as an actress as well, you have to play roles that sometimes, have nothing to do with your personality. Or maybe I am a little bit of a diva after all.
We'll just leave that in the air. We'll leave that in the air for people to figure out on their own. Exactly.
That's it.
Laura, in a country that is so, I don't want to say obsessed, but in a country that's so sort of, everything's about fado. When you talk about classical music, it's all about fado. How did you go the route of opera? Because you don't hear of a lot of, I know you see the odd opera singer from Portugal here and there, but it's not that mainstream. So how did that happen, and how did you go into that side of music?
So I grew up with my family, and my father is a very it's a a musical lover in general, but he loves classical music and opera. So I grew up listening to opera all the time in my house. I mean, we used to travel to Lisbon just to hear opera, because in Coimbra, it's a small town, so we didn't really have an opera house. We still don't have one. There's not many opera houses in Portugal anyway, but there's the big opera house, which is in Lisbon. And so we used to travel there just to listen to operas. So I grew up with this environment. And then I guess, I always loved singing. And when I went to the conservatoire in Coimbra to learn how to sing properly, obviously, they teach the classical way. So that's what they teach in the conservatoire. And this is what I start learning and realized that my voice was quite suited to that style. Maybe because I grew up with it. I don't know. So that's what I love doing. And that's what I did. And then, I got the opportunity to come to England to progress on my studies. And so, that's how it happened, really.
Amazing. How was that that sort of move coming from, as a young girl, coming from Portugal? Coimbra is not a village. It's not a tiny village, but it's not a big town. Even back then, coming to a place like London, how was that change for you?
It was hard. It's really hard. I mean, first of all, also, I came to a school that, it's one of the best music schools in the world. So you can imagine the competition. It's like incredible. So, you come from this conservatoire in this town in Portugal, oh yeah, you're very good. But then when you get there, you're like, okay, this is the competition here is like crazy. And of course, I was on my own. I didn't really have any friends or any family or anyone. Different country, London, a huge city. Even, I spoke English quite well, but when I first arrived, it's almost like I don't understand English anymore. You would go to the shops and you'd be like, I don't know. It's like my brain just froze, for the first few weeks. No, but it was hard. And I remember it's just that feeling of being on on your own as well. And then you have to build new relationships, and also in this environment that is extremely competitive. So, that was a bit of a challenge, but, you just adapt. But, it took a few months and it was hard. I mean, I remember the first time I went on holiday for Christmas holiday to Portugal, and then, and then I had to come back, and that was the worst because, then, you come back and how hard it's going to be. And I just cried and cried and cried. But also at the time, and I'm going to give away my age now. At the time, we didn't really have anything like this. There was still no FaceTime or Zooms or because now I think that makes the all difference,
Yeah.
You can be in another country, and the fact that you can see your friends and your family like this, it makes such a big difference. But at the time, there was none of this, So obviously, I would speak on the phone with my parents and my friends, but it's not the same thing, So it was hard, yeah. But
how old were you when you went to class?
I think I was 20 years old.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was, yeah.
Well, I mean, for you, was there a lot of cultural differences? I've spoken to a couple of people that have, that they go to the first place they go to when they, is UK, and they talk about it being cold, and not only weather-wise, but in talking and communicating and having conversations and greeting people in a cafe or greeting people on a train. Did you feel a difference there? Was that something that was a bit of a culture shock for you?
Yeah, first of all, I had to very quickly learn that you don't say hello to people with two kisses.
Okay, tell us what happened. There sounds like there's a story there.
No, it's not a story, but this automatic thing when you live in Portugal and you don't even think about it. You meet up someone and you just kiss, that's how we say hello. You don't shake hands, you kiss. And when I first arrived in the UK, it's something so automatic that you just do it, just go. And people will be like, whoa, you are weird. What do you do? People will be just like, oh okay. So that's what I think that was, funny thing that I had to learn. Oh, no, you don't do this. Yeah, okay, fine. Because people would think that I was a bit like, oh, this is, because people here, obviously, they are not as, I called, probably is not the right word. I would say they just keep themselves to themselves a bit more. They don't really like people invading their space. Is if they're not friends, or there's things that they don't share, like you can you go to a cafe in Portugal and you can end up talking about how your health and to the guy who's serving you in the counter. You don't do you know what I mean? And an hour later you're still there and you're already telling him about, your life and how your husband or whatever. But here you don't do that really. So that is something that I learned. But now it's interesting because having lived here for so many years, and I think because I moved here quite young, also my maturity years was spent in England. So I absorbed a lot of this culture and the way of living. And so now it's the opposite. When I go to Portugal, sometimes I find myself having a lot of English habits or, so this thing of the kisses, for instance, now my first reaction is to shake hands and people find me weird. It's like, well, okay.
Why are you shaking my hand?
But it's just like this is the sort of things that get automated in your body, in your being. You don't do it on purpose. So so that's interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. What do you think of some of your Portugueseness that you've kept with you? And haven't been able to, or haven't wanted to lose while living there for so long?
Okay, so I think, and I've tamed this a bit, okay, but I think I'm still quite a straightforward person. I could just say it as it is. I still am a bit like this, which is quite Portuguese, isn't it? I have. Believe me, I've tamed this characteristic a lot, but I still have a bit of that. And obviously I think the other people see it more than I do. I'm quite bubbly and I speak, and I think that's very much associated with our culture as well. Also, this thing of liking to welcome people, socialize, I like having people over, dinner, receiving people in my house. So this kind of things, I think, I never lost. This is something that is
and you worry if they've had enough to eat.
Yeah, exactly. And
that's very Portuguese.
When everybody comes to my house, there'll be food for like three, so many.
An army, yeah.
Yes, and it's like, why? And then everybody goes home with containers because so much left.
Yes, okay, that's very Portuguese. Yeah,
it's like you have to take this. Okay, go take this. Yeah. So and obviously the love for food and good wine. This I never lost. Yeah.
And also, I'll point out something. You didn't give up when it was hard, when it would have been maybe easier to give up at the beginning with the school, with being there. You didn't give up. And that's something that's very Portuguese. We don't give up. We fight. Desenrascar. We find a way.
We always find a way. It's true. I think that's quite a characteristic of our culture as well. You don't give up, and then you find ways, okay, this is not going to work, but somehow you always find a way to make it work, even in the hardest circumstances, So I think I'm very much like that. If I set my mind into something and I really want to do it, I will do it. No, I'll try everything I can. Even sometimes you're like, why am I even doing this? But it's almost like, okay, no, I said I would do it, so I'll do it. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
And how was that? I saw you sang at the Portuguese embassy and did an event there. I'm sure there's others that you have done and or will do. But how was that experience for you? Was it quite nostalgic? Was it something that you were proud about doing? Singing there in that circumstance.
I must say, this ambassador we have in London at the minute, Embaixador Manuel Lobantunes. He is an amazing supporter of Portuguese artists, not only musicians, but art in general. I mean, I've been here for many years, and for sure, he's the most engaged ambassador we had with the arts and Portuguese. So he's a great supporter of Portuguese culture and the artists that live here. So I've been invited a few times to perform there, which has been a great honor for me. It's amazing to be to show a bit of my culture and to be able to share a part of what I do with not only with the Portuguese people that are here, but people guests from the embassy. So it's always a huge honor and pleasure to go to the embassy and do things there. Yeah.
Nice. What are some of the things you miss? I mean, I know it's different these days because it's so easy to get back and forth, and maybe more so than what it was at the beginning. But what are some of the things that you miss about Portugal?
Well, I mean, today? I tell you, even if I go to Portugal very often for work, I mean, one of the things, well, two things that I miss the most is the sea and the sun. I mean, the weather. It's just so fantastic, I mean, especially when you live somewhere in like London, which the weather is terrible here. And the blue sky in Portugal, I've never seen, the blue of the sky is so, yeah, okay.
And just
he's looking out of the window. I rub it in. I'm not going to show you my window because it's nothing nice to see.
Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. If it makes you feel any better, I had a little bit of ice on my windscreen this morning. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, but the sun's shining. And it's,
that makes the whole difference, doesn't it? Yeah. So I miss the sun a lot. Whenever I land in Portugal and you have this warm sun and these blue skies, it's almost like happy pill, isn't it? So good. Yeah, I miss that a lot. But I'm lucky to go often. But yes.
What's the first thing you do when you get to Portugal? Like a first thing that you do for you, just to be like, I missed this, and I always try to go and see the sea, just to smell the sea. And also sometimes it's not possible because the schedule is crazy, but if I can, I always try to go, even if it's just to, if it's the winter, I don't care. It's just to smell a maresia, como nós dizemos. And also have a proper pastel de nata. Yeah. Pastel de nata, a proper one with a coffee. A proper one. Where do you go for your pastel nata? Anywhere, or do you have a go-to place that you prefer?
I mean, obviously, I love pastéis de Belém in Lisbon, but if I'm not there, I mean, anywhere. I mean, when you have pastéis de nata in London, every pastel de nata in Portugal, it's like a gourmet experience, So anyway, yeah.
Is there a particular pastry that you enjoy that's particularly from Coimbra or from that area?
Pastry.
Yeah, or cake or dessert or something that you can
yes, absolutely. So near Coimbra, there is this little village which is called Tentugal. Okay. And they have the most amazing pastries there, which are pastéis de Tentugal and also queijadas. It's the sort of a cheesy cake kind of thing, but it's so, so good. And it's like a Coventry kind of sweet. It's very ancient recipe because they used to have a convent there. And it's just been passed through generations, and it's really a wonderful delicacy. I mean, you can find it in Coimbra in the patisserie there. But it's from this particular village, Tentugal.
Okay, so I know queixadas, but I've never heard of a pastel de Tentugal. I have to check that out.
Yeah, check it because it's beautiful. It's really very, very good.
Okay.
Very sweet, like all the Portuguese desserts. But
yeah, all of them. Yeah, the monks and the nuns were so bored that they just had to keep making sweet things
with lots of egg yolks.
Always eggs, yeah. Always lots of egg things. Laura, I mean, for you, because you're representing Portugal in some way, what do you think people have learned about Portugal because of you? Having known you, your friends, and people that have met you, what do you think they've learned about your country?
Well, I'm always talking about Portugal. You know, whenever I have a friend who wants to go to Portugal, I always do an itinerary of the city they're going to see or the country. Because, I mean, the beauty about Portugal is because it's just such a small country that you can really hop on to different cities in your holidays. It's perfectly. So, you know, I always do a big itinerary for them, and I just love my country, you know, and I talk about it gladly with anyone that is interested. But in my particular field as well, as a singer and a musician, I also think I try to contribute to showing other types of music outside Portugal, because as you said, I mean, we're very much associated with fado, which is wonderful, of course, especially now. It's an amazing art form, but also there's a lot of other types of music styles and things that deserve being known in outside Portugal, and, you know, contemporary music, and so other composers that are more associated with classical music, Portuguese composers that have magnificent works. Nobody knows them, obviously. So I try to incorporate that in my concerts and to show that side of things outside Portugal. So yeah, that's what I try to do.
And we've got like great Portuguese football players doing really well in the UK.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, football, we don't need to help them because they're well enough. But yeah. I mean, of course, we always get Cristiano Ronaldo, of course, and all of
Bernardo.
them. Yeah. So yeah.
Do you support a team in Portugal? Academica? Supposed to support Academica, but now I'm wondering.
From Coimbra. No, I mean, I would say that I love when the Portugal team plays. I don't really support one team in Portugal, but when Portugal plays, I'm crazy. I can't even watch the game because I get so nervous. I'm like crazy. Yeah.
Safe answer. Not picking a club. That's a safe. Very safe, politically correct.
Friends with everybody.
Well done, well done. Okay. Laura, it's a different type of question for you because you've been living in the UK for so long, and it might look a bit different. But what makes you proud to be Portuguese? What makes you proud of Portugal?
So I'm very proud of we are such welcoming people and generous people, and I think that is a very big characteristic of Portuguese people. They're so welcoming, so warm and generous. You know, whenever they see someone in need, I mean, there's always someone that's going to help, and you know, they always make people feel so welcome. I mean, if you talk to people that go to Portugal for holidays, or they always talk about this side, and it's true, you know. And I think, you know, because I live outside Portugal, I even appreciate more that characteristic because, you know, like I said to you, you go to Portugal and, you know, you're not well, and you go to a cafe and Are you okay? Are you okay, miss? Do you need anything? Oh, you don't sound good. What's happening to you? I mean, do you know these kind of things? It's so almost feels like in our world as well, in the world that we live, it's almost it doesn't happen anymore, especially in this side of the world that I live in. So I think that's a wonderful characteristic, and I hope that we never lose it, because maybe it's because we're such a small country and a little bit in the little edge of Europe. I don't know why, but it's lovely.
Yeah, there's an old world feel to it, and it still feels like, even with technology, with social media, with everything that's changed around us, that we've kept that in Portugal, where we still care about each other and we still talk. And I don't know what it is, but it's something that's really, really beautiful and unique.
I hope it keeps like that. Yeah,
I'm trying. I won't let it change. Yeah. I'm gonna say yeah.
Great.
Laura, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I could talk to you forever. But tell me one thing that you want people to remember and take away from this conversation.
Well, if people want to go and see Portugal, I would strongly advise. I hope in this little conversation has opened your appetite to visit the country, because it's really, really worth it in all levels. It's beautiful. People are amazing. It's vibrant. You will have a great time. The food is great. And there's a little bit of everything for everybody. If you like the sea, you'll be in your element. If you like good food, if you like good wine, if you like, nature, there's a bit of everything for everybody. So I hope that this conversation has opened your appetite to come and visit.
Okay, you mentioned food many times in this conversation, so I need to ask you, because I haven't. You got some people come around. It's the first time they've ever trying a Portuguese plate of food. What dish are you going to make them?
Ooh, that's a tricky one, because depends if they like fish, if they don't like fish. It depends if they, Ooh. Okay, if someone is so if I have a group of friends that like to experiment on new stuff, and they eat everything, and they're not squeamish or anything about, I don't eat this, I don't eat that, I'll do them a feijoada,
okay.
With lots of, with everything on it, with the whole lot, with the chouriço, with the farinheira, with everything, Or or I can do, maybe if they're a bit more not so,
adventurous.
Adventurous, thank you. Maybe some bacalhau dish, maybe bacalhau espiritual or bacalhau com natas. I don't know, something a little bit more.
Bacalhau brás,
something a little bit in between, Yeah. So, I would say something like that.
Sounds good. With some wine from the Alentejo. Alentejo wine?
Alentejo or Douro. It depends.
Depends.
So many places. I know. I mean, it's both for choice.
Exactly. Laura, how can people follow you online? Concerts coming up. Where can we find your album? All of those things that we can connect and keep in touch.
My album, you can find it on all digital platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all the, the usual places. On social media, I'm quite active on Instagram. So that's Lara Martin Singer. I also have a Twitter account, but I'm not very active on that. But that's Lara Martins _25 or Facebook. What else? And usually my website, laramartins.com, you can see whatever I do. I put it there. But usually, if you follow my social media, you'll be always up to date to what I'm doing, where I'm performing. So that's the best way.
Brilliant. Okay, because we have quite a few listeners from the UK. So those of you listening in the UK, Get your bums to a concert with Laura.
Yes.
Martins. Yeah, wonderful. Okay, Laura, a question that we ask all of our guests. Portugal, the simple life, why?
Why? Because it has a wonderful quality of life. The weather, the people are so warm. There's a great national health system. There's everything. And there's everything you can find anywhere else, but with a wonderful quality of life, because it's small. Even a city like Lisbon is a capital, a European capital, like any other European capital, but with sun, light, and just an amazing quality of life. So I hope this never changes. So let's keep it a secret, so it doesn't get, spoiled. Yeah, but it's, I wonder, why am I not in Portugal? No,
I'm sorry. I don't want you to get sad.
No, yeah. I mean, it's a fantastic country. Yeah.
Wonderful. Laura, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. And for now, I'm going to let you call it.
It's a wrap.
So thank you once again to Laura, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We'd love to hear from you. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. And as we say in Portugal, beijinhos. Welcome to the simple life.